Yo guys, Saber here, welcome to the video. Today I'm joined by the Potato Ambassador and one of my very good friends, Crozyr. Welcome, Crozyr.
Yeah, glad to be here.
How are you doing?
Oh, doing really well. I've been jamming some games with this deck that we're gonna show off today, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Awesome. So, the deck for today is Skytel Madoc. And as you might know, then Madoc was added with the latest patch. It was the only card that was added. And I think a lot of people in the beginning was like, is that card even good? It looks a little bit memey. All the bombs are bad. But a lot of people actually started to get pretty good results with this. I think Atsikov, one of Crozyr's teammates, got 2500 and was it 70 with this deck?
2570, yeah.
Yeah.
You got really far.
So that's really good at this point in the season. So why do you think that's possible to get such a good score so early in the season with a card like Madoc?
Yeah, because Madoc, of course, just works really well with this no unit style kind of deck that we've seen before, but now with Madoc gets another way to utilize removal cards with the bombs more effectively. Since it adds 3 points to it all the time, and especially in ST with the access to making a bomb, you've got another card that can still set up the Madoc very effectively. As you never know on what row Madoc goes, that's kind of a downside for it, right? But with making a bomb, you can kind of line up the opponent's unit to the Ragnarok effect that Madoc spawns. And in general, it just helps with this no unit plan that had already some success early on, and now kind of dials it up to 11 a bit with this addition to the game.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because when you look at the deck, you actually have very few units that's actually going to place on your side of the board.
Mm-hmm.
You have a few high-end cards. You have a Forest Protector, you have Professional, and then you have Justice. So that's like 3 of your high-end cards that the opponents can actually deal with, and then you have God. But in round 3, that's also probably the most amount of units you're actually going to play. And sometimes how I like to play the deck is just to play all these like high-end cards in round 1 to secure round 1 and get last say. And then round 3, then all you basically have is your God and your Saber, and then a bunch of these damage spells, because then the opponent will just have 0 stuff to interact with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's very important to get last say in this list. You want to slam that gourd down without them being able to yeet or yen it or anything else that punishes you for playing tall. And if you accomplish getting last say, then there's a lot of decks that really struggle against you.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just take a look at a few of the interesting cards here. So obviously we're playing sort of control precision strike deck with Gord, so we're running on Ironmancy, we're also running Forest Protect. That's just one of the best Skytel cards when you're playing the Rebukes as well. We have Geralt Professional, makes a lot of sense with this leader because it just helps you set up anything you want to kill basically. If you want to, you can also run something like Vanilla Geralt, this card. So, but that's more of like, it's a bit more of a meta call. If there's a lot of tall decks going around, you can play this. But if you want the more safe option, you can just go for pro. Got Heatwave, probably played in every non-devotion list. Justice also played in basically all Skytel decks. A lot of these like choices are pretty standard. So now it gets a little bit more interesting. We got Madoc, our win condition. We have already talked about why we're running this card. Then we have Curse of Corruption, and in this deck, when you look at it, we actually have very few cards that are going tall. The tallest unit is probably Gord, but that's our finisher. And then other than that, it's maybe like a Forest Protector that goes to 7. So Curse of Corruption is basically just destroy the highest opponent unit. It almost never breaks. Have you tried to break it yet, Crozyr?
It might have bricked on a Forest Protector that went to 9 after playing another Rebuke, but that was like 1 out of 30 games or something. It's very rare. It's definitely usually fitting into the deck really well. And even Sabertooth Tiger, which is a 7, you can always just pet the Tiger before you use Corruption, and then
yeah. Yes, that's the thing with this card, in case you don't know it. If you flip this card, which you want to do every turn except the last turn in round 3, then it becomes invisible and the points don't really count. So you can kind of ignore this. This is an immune card, and sometimes it won't find great value. Sometimes the opponent can play around it, but it's still just a 7 for 9, non-interactive, which is really nice for this sort of deck. And then we have all the bombs. Obviously, that's probably the main downside to Madoc, because I don't think Madoc is probably one of the best cards in the game, just in terms of like how well it's statted. If you compare to like Flying Redanian, it's one more provision, but you can kind of use it several times around. But obviously you have to run these bombs. And I don't know, like the Northern Wind and the Moondust, they aren't the greatest cards in the world. A little bit low value, 4 for 5. Sometimes you can get some value from the Purify and Vanish, but quite often they're just a little bit underwhelming. But if you combine it with Madoc, they're actually really good value. You can just +3 to each of them, which is really nice.
Yeah, I agree. Of course, with Madoc, all of a sudden these plays become 7-point plays with a removal ceiling up to 7 points if you actually hit with Cataclysm. And Madoc's already on the board. Like they synergize very well in that moment. And the nice thing about Northern Wind and Moondust is there are some constellations in the meta right now where their secondary effects actually kind of help you out with banishing like a Ceres or some unit that wants to have some effect in the graveyard. With Northern Wind, it goes away completely. And even Moondust, it can be nice against witches early on in the first round because you can kill the Griffin Witcher adepts through shield, or you can get rid of a defender that way because it's a purify. It has some nice side effects that would probably not be good enough to run in them in most decks if you didn't have Madoc who makes them good enough to play with those additional 3 points every time you drop them, which also maybe gets us to one of the issues that this can bring, which is if they Northern Wind your Madoc or if they yeet your Madoc, all of a sudden you sit on all these bombs, right? And that can be one potential downside to running these cards, that you become somewhat reliant on your Madoc to actually reappear all the time if you want to make them worth it. And otherwise, you might sit on a few pretty sad plays.
For sure. So sometimes it can
Yeah.
still be kind of okay because you're playing interactive, so you're just like the opponent might just lose all the damage they have in their card and stuff like that. But if you're up against a proactive deck, they get rid of your Madoc, then you have these bombs that just plays for 4 points, 4 points. Like you will probably lose. So that's something you need to be careful of. And this is a deck that's really good in some matchups and also kind of struggling quite a lot in other matchups. One thing that I kind of like about the deck is that it's probably the best deck to get a huge gold. And I think we have 12 special cards. Oneiromancer can be played twice at 13. And then we have Forest Protector, which is another one, right? So it's a potential of 14 points you can get on your board. And I actually got that on a game yesterday on stream. I'm not sure if you tried that as well, Crozyr. You have to get
I had a 17-point gourd. I was very proud.
It feels pretty satisfying, right? Just playing every single space in your deck and then playing a 17 for 7. And then there's one more card we should probably just touch upon here, and that's the Bomb Heap. I don't think I've played this card since it removed artifacts.
Yeah, it's so strange to hear these voice lines again.
Yeah, catch.
It triggers the PTSD so
Yeah.
much. But now he's a bit more wholesome. He just does 3 damage if you have a bump in hand. And why I like this a lot actually is that especially with Sabertooth Tiger on the board, you often create like 2 or 3 point units on the opponent's side, where it feels like a bit of a waste to use Moondust and Northern Wind on sometimes. And so like, especially if you're in a rough spot in round 1, you didn't find some of your gold cards. As you said, you like to commit them in round 1 to secure last say. You might have to open them with Sabertooth Tiger to have a chance of winning the round. Then the Bomb Heapers really help kind of securing that, because you keep playing for 7 points, remove something on the opponent's side that might be an engine or something, and that kind of doesn't waste the points that you waste if you were to kill a 2-point unit with the Northern Wind or something like that, right? And then they are 7 for 5 with removal potential. That just works. Like if it does work in any deck, it would be something like this with 6 bombs there. You usually always get the full value for the Bomb Heaver.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. Like it's very rare that this card actually breaks. Like it's almost just a 7 to 5, which is like it's not amazing, right? 7 to 5 is like acceptable. It's good, but it's nothing crazy. But the fact that you've got 3 removal on it kind of makes it a little bit better because you also have leader, which you can combine, where you combine with a bomb, stuff like that. And then I think you mentioned that before, Crozier, but I think like the best bomb in the deck is making a bomb. It's playing for 4 points, which is the same as the other bomb, but 1 less provision. Instead of having one of these purify banish effects, and you can use it to move a unit to the other side, to the other row, basically. And that's very good because of Madoc, and it's very good because of Saber. So basically, if you go into round 3, let's say the opponent goes first, to play one card in a row, you play Saber. Obviously, they play another card in the same row because they want to deny the Saber effect. And now you play Making a Bomb, and all of a sudden they have one unit in each row. They can only protect one of them. And you set up Madoc at the same time. So using Making a Bomb to manipulate the opponent unit's row placement is really nice. And, I mean, other than that, it's just great for simply disabling units that are row locked, right? If you have a row locked engine, you can just move it.
Yeah, exactly. You only sometimes have to make sure you do use it when you have an opening before opponents can break both rows, because the
Yeah,
bleed effect is quite a downside, which I think initially many people thought this card was completely useless or horrible, and it took some time for some to see its merit in some of these SD decks, especially now that Madoc's come out, it probably is a bit better as well. But yeah, surprisingly, it does find a niche here, and is, as you say, basically of all the bombs, one of the best, if not the best, right now.
for sure. And then the final card we'll just talk briefly about is a Pyro. And the reason we're running Pyro is because it's a unit, obviously, but it's sort of also not. It deals 4 damage. So the opponent doesn't really want, they can't really damage it. If you damage it by 5, then you still deal 4 damage. So this is a sort of card that's a unit, but also kind of not a unit. So it just goes very well into the game plan of staying non-interactive. Another way to use this is if you're on blue coin, you can start with the Pyro, and the opponent can't just really play anything because whatever they play, you can just activate Pyro, damage it by 4, and then maybe follow up with a Bomb Heaver, and you can kill basically anything.
Yep.
So I think that was it for the cards. Now let's talk a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses. I think we already covered some of it. So what do you think is like the main strength of this deck, Crozier?
The main strengths basically are its uninteractivity. That, as you said, most of the units that you play, or many of them, are actually not really units that the opponent can interact with, or that we play at a time or intend to play at a time when the opponent can interact with them. So that whenever you play against something that has a lot of control in itself, that control on the opponent's side is going to brick. And
Yes.
you basically gain a lot of passive points that way in a lot of your cards, like Saber-Tooth Tiger, as you waste your opponent's removal cards. And that makes this deck very dangerous for certain strategies.
Yes, for sure. Another nice thing about this deck is that if you compare to the old list you had with Agitators and Skags and Allguard, then this deck actually has a really good round 1, because compared to the other deck, now we have Madoc coming down, so you have 3 point more of an advantage. We also have some Bomb Heavers to play for decent value. And in general, we're not that scared of committing some of our high-end cards, such as maybe Forest Protector or even Professional, because we don't necessarily want these cards later on, because we just want to stay no unit in round 3.
And needless to say, on top of being no unit, we have tons and tons of removal that can counter both decks that go too tall and decks that rely too heavily on engines, which we can shut down very effectively. Also, with our leader having additional removal range, depending on how many charges we want to expend, there is often a situation where you just kill engine after engine, and the opponent just isn't able to pull off their game plan. So you can be very disruptive with the deck as well.
Absolutely. And then in terms of the weaknesses, I think I would personally say that it's struggling against decks that don't play that many engines, but rather go wide and point spammy. Because if that happens, then your big control options don't really do anything. They play around your Saber, and all of a sudden, like, your deck just lacks points because you don't have all that many points. The opponents can actually deny the tall punishes you have and the Saber and that sort of stuff, and don't lose any value from playing proactively.
Exactly. So basically, if you play against something like Lippy, exactly what you described can happen, and your Tor removal falls flat, and your other cards don't achieve comparatively enough value to keep up with all the point spend that the opponent's doing, and then you just lose by points at the end.
Yeah.
And I think another issue can be not managing to win round 1, because all of a sudden your Herald God won't be your last say, and it can be
Yes.
removed, so you lose a lot of potential points. And this can be devastating if you play in a mirror or against any other
Yeah.
deck that's very control heavy. That especially if you queue against them on blue, and you end up being in a position where they can win the first round potentially rather easily if you run out of proactive plays, because you
Mhm.
run a few, but ultimately not that many.
Yeah.
Um, and it can be a very steep uphill battle at that point.
For sure, definitely agree. And maybe like the last weakness, which also leads us on to the next point, is the mulligans.
Mm.
Because this deck is running 5 bricks. You have, well, not quite, but close. So you have 2 volunteers, you have 2 sentinels, and then you have your Madoc. Now, the volunteers are only semi-bricks because you can still, let's say you draw your justice, and then you draw 1 volunteer. Then you can always go justice into a pyro and then use just play the volunteers from hand. That's fine. But the volunteers can be a little bit awkward if you don't pull them for justice, and that's usually what you want to do. The Madoc you can thin that round 1 by using a bomb. That's usually fine. And then the sentinels are like the bricks you usually keep on round 3. So the main issue is that if you like after round 1, it's usually okay if you draw okay there. But if you just draw all of your bricks round 1, then it can be kind of awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Exactly.
so obviously you want to mulligan the bricks we just talked about here. But what's the priority in round 1, Crozyr? Like what cards would you recommend mulliganing first?
So I'd say Madoc should really not be in your hand, because you do
Yeah,
want to get him out almost every time around one with some bomb play. I'd say if you feel confident enough in being able to win the first round without playing all your cards, it's okay if there is a Broccolon Sentinel in there,
yeah,
because you just keep that as a card you don't play and then you mulligan it later. You don't want to get them out in round 1 anyway, most of the time at least.
yeah.
And then the volunteers, you want to play from Justice ideally, but you also could technically play them if you have a Pyromancer on the Pyrotechnician on the board.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'd say you always want to start with Madoc, and then especially if you have Justice in hand, you get rid of the Volunteers. Um, or unless if it's a matchup where it's very tough to win the first round, or
Mm-hmm.
you play against another control deck, you need some more proactive plays yourself. You can consider keeping volunteers if you have another dwarf that you can put in the board for them, and then rather kick the Broccolon Sentinel. It's kind of matchup or situation dependent on what exactly you do.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree overall. Like definitely Madoc's first priority, and then after that, probably just, if you have 2 volunteers in hand, then the second
Mm.
volunteer should be like the
Yeah,
next high
yeah,
priority,
yeah.
and then probably sentinels, and then the first volunteer. Just as like a general rule of thumb. Obviously, as you
Hmm.
mentioned, it kind of depends.
Hmm.
Um, so usually you don't have much room for doing anything else and just getting rid of your bricks, because after that that's usually what all your mulligans are for. Like if you have mulligans left after getting rid of your bricks, probably just keep, because there's a very high risk of you drawing into them again. So you can't really choose that much around. If you have 0 bricks in your hand, maybe you can consider kicking gold round 1. Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
it's pretty consistent deck, so you will usually find it again, and it's just a card you can't really play before round 3 usually.
Hmm.
Um, and then we have some matchups here. So you played this deck quite a lot, Crozier. What would you say is like maybe one of the best matchups for this deck?
One of the best matchups that I've found is probably it might even be ST when they play engine heavy,
Mm-hmm.
where you shut down a lot of their cards, a lot of their pings don't really achieve anything. You can easily shut down something like Gezra's, and even if it's like a devotion list, you can kill um, kill ethnic spawns very easily with leader and stuff like that, where you have a lot of ways of dealing with them. Besides that, I felt like Warriors SK also struggled
Mm-hmm.
against you because they want to remove all the time. Sometimes you can um, completely brick some of their cards, and they have a really hard time making up for the value in round 1 that you can produce because the veteran effects haven't gone through yet. Um, those somehow, for the most part, have been very good. And I think NG was also pretty decent when they played a lot of removal cards. Lockdown was a bit tricky because if they lock down your leader, it kind of comes down to who manages to win round 1
Mm-hmm.
and how your brick situation is. But something like Enslave, um, you have a lot of ways of beating as well.
I definitely agree. decks that either struggles with productivity, like maybe something like Nilfgaard, but also decks
Mm.
that play very engine heavy. One example could be, and this is not a very like popular deck right now, but I played against Revenants yesterday, and that
Mm.
deck was so free. Like when you think about it, all your cards they kill the engines. Even
Mm.
bomb heavers get rid of Revenants, and your bombs just get rid of everything else they play. There's nothing they can do. So like that
Mm.
matchup is like borderline unlosable, I think. Um,
And then there's also V,
yes.
which is an interesting one. Of course, V is always a very dangerous card if it goes through, if it manages to trample you with how many points it can keep generating. But with this deck, you should be able most of the time to shut down all the consume cards that the opponent wants to play. Barbagazis, Lizards, sometimes even the Barghists. If you have like a Pyrotechnician on the board, you snipe the Barghist as it comes down, and then finish it off with something else. And then the opponent ends up only really having his leader to consume the V and the Haunt. And sometimes you can like pass the Haunt when it comes down. Sometimes you can choose to U-wave it, and you have 3 pieces of toy unit removal,
Mm.
which should definitely enable you to get the upper hand, especially if you secure last say against V.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like V is a funny one. A lot of people seem to think this is a bad matchup for this deck to go up against V. But I haven't played it a lot. I think Crozyr played it a little bit more than me, but I
Yeah.
think it's like a fairly okay matchup. Again, for the
Yeah.
reasons you mentioned, you can get rid of all that consumes. You have triple tall punish. It might not be an easy matchup, but I definitely think you have the answers to make it a fair fight.
Yeah. You just gotta be maybe slightly careful um, not to lose your professional to Aurora Quacks.
Yeah,
So you kind of just try to draw your gold cards around one.
yeah,
It's kind of the idea. Um, but what can also happen, which is really funny, is sometimes the Aurora quacks your Sabertooth Tiger out, and then that's potentially really good for you as well. One game. So just try to draw your golds, get Madoc out early, so he can't be found by quacks, and then you're kind of good.
for sure. And then if there's like a few bad matchups to talk about, then if I start, then I think something that goes wide. So that could be stuff like Syndicate Swarm. It could be
Mhm.
stuff like Did I Ambush, and it could be something like Lepi. Like all of these decks, they don't really play any tall units. They just go super wide, and all of your removal cards don't really do anything. And they have just fine going proactive for almost the entire round. So they're really difficult to beat in my opinion. Is that also your impression, Crozier?
Yeah, definitely. Lippy can sometimes feel completely unwinnable. You can have a decent shot at it if you find the Northern Winds in round 1 and you banish Ceres and the Queen's Guard. Sorry, the Shield Maiden, or maybe a Nickers or a Roach.
Mm-hmm.
You have some ways of worsening the opponent's carryover, but sometimes it's still just not enough for you to win. And they can also challenge round 1 quite heavily sometimes when they find all the cards they need with Burner and just slamming down all the points that you can't compete with. So that sometimes feels very unfavored. And there is one that's a bit of a case in the middle, which is NR Witches, that also, with all the deck boosts they do, kind of manage to create a lot of points across their
Mm-hmm.
cards. They don't really do go tall on a few cards, but they kind of go tall on so many cards that you
Yeah.
sometimes can't shut them down all at once. And it kind of comes down to whether you're able to win round 1 handsomely enough, especially if you win on even. I think you have a really nice chance, and
Mm.
you can bully them quite a lot in round 1. But sometimes, and if they have the Witcher trio still in round 3 and all those deck booster units, you can struggle there as well, I say.
So I played that matchup a few times yesterday in stream, and like I actually won that two of the times.
Oh, really?
And what happened was that in both games I played my Gord, so it went to 8 points, and my
Uh-huh.
opponent ended up playing a dead vanilla Gerald finisher, playing for 3 points, and I just won by like 1 or 2 points in both of them. So that's some cheeky line to be aware of. That
Uh-huh.
if you don't get last say, then you have the advantage of being able to start with Sabertooth, but then you can try to play a low Gord, so you break the opponent's tall punch basically. Just a little cheeky
Mhm.
line you can try to apply. And then the final point I think we should talk about here in the guide is if you ever go up against this deck, is there any like general tips you can use to beat it? Because it is quite popular right now.
Mhm. I think some people might underestimate how powerful or how much of an impact it is against this deck to remove the Madoc early, even
Mm-hmm.
if you use something at U-Wave. If you don't remove Madoc, they often have enough power to win the first round anyway, and then you'll never see the gourd to yeet wave him.
Yeah.
And especially if you have other ways of bricking the saber-tooth tiger, it's not that much of a high priority target to remove with yeet. So I think consider removing the Madoc as it comes down, and you already take a lot of power away from this deck, and potentially keep it from what it's trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. And then also try to maybe consider if you go into round 3, they will definitely play saber. Like, how do you brick that? Like, do you have like a shooter in your deck? Like maybe you have something like a Menno and a Talis to just give you 2 units on the board at the same time. Try to see if you can, like, from the beginning, consider, do you have some shooters that you can keep so you can brick that right away? Because if that goes through for an entire round, you can't deal with it. They just keep dealing 2 damage, then it's really just an uphill battle for you.
And similarly to Sabertooth Tiger, you can also always consider kind of bricking making a bomb so that the opponent can't get the flat 4 value out there. Just keep that in mind that you try to ideally put multiple units on both rows,
Yeah,
depending on whether Tiger is still in the game or on the board already.
for sure.
And yeah, sometimes you can be very cheeky. This deck only runs 2 rebukes for Forest Protector. If they maybe only played 1, you can try to squirrel that, or you squirrel the Madoc, of course, if you get the chance. There's different ways to do this, but yeah, getting rid of a Forest Protector target in the graveyard can also, in some cases, be devastating, but it depends on the situation, of course.
For sure. All right, so this ended up being a very long guide. I hope you all learned something. Let's try to jump in and watch some actually gameplay of the deck now. All right, Lockdown.
Interesting. So all of a sudden, the Brooklyn Sentinels aren't really bricks anymore in the traditional sense.
Yeah. So,
Because, yeah.
that might actually be a card we want to keep here, right? Just to thin it out here round 1.
Exactly.
Probably just kick the volunteers, right? So,
And the Madoc.
yeah. And we probably just get rid of the last one. It's very unlikely to find another Sentinel, right?
Yeah, you can technically also just Justice from a Neuromancy, and I think it's gonna be fine. Nice.
Alright, so what's our objective here? We probably want to win round 1, right?
Yeah, otherwise they can kind of just yen your gourd later.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you win this round. You are on blue coin. I think it's probably the most reasonable, as you were about to do, to go for Pyrotechnician. If you feel like this hand can't win by itself, you could consider getting Sabertooth Tiger out, because you have like the Bomb Heavers to kill all the engines that the opponent might want to play. But if you think this might do it without, then we probably don't want to use that yet and go for Pyro first.
Yeah, it might be fine, because then we also have the option to take Justice with this, right? So we have another power play we can take instead of Saber. Alright, so it's Cloggers.
Oh, okay.
How does this matchup go?
You'd think it should be okay as long as you win the first round. Actually, I think it should be very favored for you, because you have so much removal for the defender. You could even have Purify with the Moondust, and you can also choose any of the 20 ways that you have to kill Colgrim. Ideally, you yeet him so he can't come back.
Yeah, and we drew an Nairo, which is massive here, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking maybe we activate this, hope we hit the Sentinel within the Sentinels.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Just snipe. Just be a skilled player.
Oh.
Should have gone back to
Do we go for a Northern Wind here to set up the Sentinel then?
Yeah, I think it just works out well here. You still have the making a bomb for the Bomb Heavers.
Yeah.
And Madoc's down.
And I guess this is also like making bombs are usually nice to keep for round 3 for Tiger, right? Like the issue here is that it would actually be nice to go no unit just to deny him any sort of Viper, which sort of value you might get.
Yeah. So also, since Madoc's on the back row, the opponent most likely won't even play there now. Which means if you do need the making a bomb points, it's most likely gonna stay at 4 damage. Because it's kind of unlikely the opponent plays in the back row now. I'm wondering if you should try to hit the engine with a bomb heaver, and then next turn you can kill it with Broccoli on Sentinels.
Ah, that's a good line. I like that. Let's try that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very cheeky line. So yeah, like obviously he's gonna be playing Coated Weapons, he's gonna be playing Viper Witches, he's gonna give us a bunch of bricks back, which is not great for us, but at least we can thin a bit with Justice, we can thin a bit with the Sentinels here. That's a pretty good making a bomb target.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I think now you can strike with the Sentinels, you thin,
Yeah.
and get rid of the engine. And it's good that the opponent's playing slow here. He will probably continue to do so in an attempt to clog your deck, but since you have an Ironmancy, we
Yeah,
should be in a favorable position.
I agree. Like it's always a bit scary if they clock everything.
Mhm.
But if we can just draw like a few more good cards, we should probably be fine. So is it just making a bomb now, or do we go for the bomb heaver first, maybe?
Yeah, so since you can get additional 3 points of damage on Madoc, you don't have to get rid of the engine right now. You probably want to go making a bump on the either on the engine or on the 4. But I guess, see, if the engine goes to 5 or 6 now, you can still kill it in one turn by
Yeah,
moving it after using Madoc. So I
that's.
think you bomb heaver here now, so you don't lose the bomb heaver value.
But would we rather just move this one back row though, just because we don't want to get clocked and we don't care too much about the points?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It's a fair point.
But otherwise, I agree. Like it's a really cool interaction. Just in case you guys don't know it, then you can play making a bomb on maybe a 6 or 7 point unit. Well, first you activate Madoc, then you play making a bomb on a tall unit, move it back row, and then the damage will just make sure it dies.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we could do the Madoc play and making a bomb right on the infiltrator.
Yeah.
We might as well activate it just in case we get it front row then, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So you basically always want to activate Madoc whenever you play a bomb, because if this jumps front row now, we will actually be able to activate it again. He hasn't actually clocked us very much, which is kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
Wondering if we should consider taking a pass soon.
Yeah, Colgrim usually doesn't come down at last play, so you have multiple chances to take it out. You could. I wonder if you want to do Justice here, because otherwise,
It's an
actually, you
option.
don't really need to.
Is it maybe better just to pass here? And then if you want to bleed,
yeah, I
then
think so. You already thinned out your Sentinels and your
yeah.
Madoc, so it's not that bad. So in this rare case, you can probably just go to the last round. And then
Yeah.
even if they have removal for God, you still have Justice and points oftentimes.
Yeah.
And I think if you get to play Justice in round 2, you probably stay ahead and keep your card, I have a feeling.
I agree. That would be really nice.
Yeah.
Probably want to try to see if we can heatwave the Colgrim when it comes down, because usually they're running Renew as well, and they're running Kingslayer, so like they can just copy it a bunch of time if we don't manage to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so he clocked us for 3 cards, right? A Sentinel, Golem thingy, and this Jin.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't great, right? It isn't great, but we should be able to maybe play one of them on the dry path and just mull the other two.
Mm-hmm.
So do we keep the Guardians because it's the worst and we expect them to dry path, or do we mull it and say he could actually bleed us here?
Usually Colgrim
Bleed, right?
bleeds, right? They try to play Colgrim in 2 rounds so that
Yeah.
you really struggle.
So maybe
I
we
think
just
you
mull
should-
it.
Yeah. Oof.
That could maybe just be a mull again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. That's really nice.
Yeah, perfect.
Let's see what he's going for here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we don't have a bomb in hand, which is a little bit awkward, but maybe just... Do we go for like an iron into a bomb here, or is that trolling?
Yeah, I think it's... Honestly, if you look at your deck, the only other consideration would be Saber-Tooth Tiger, which you don't want to use here in this round, because you're not even on blue.
But isn't the issue if he goes for 2-0 here, we could get in trouble?
What
Because
other card would you go for ever? That's more points.
Heatwave, right? If he goes like Defender
I
and...
see. Yeah. Maybe you wait a little bit longer, because then if
could-
he goes Defender...
We could maybe just pro this if we need to, and then just go Justice now, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's fair.
I have a feeling that if we manage to survive this round, we should be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been really nice to have a bomb here, though.
Yeah, just one instead of the Sentinel, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, that's not the most common card, is it?
Yeah, the deck's a bit an interesting version of Colgrim.
Okay.
Yeah, usually if you see that, it would be in the Imperial formation version.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe just choose the wrong leader. Do we just go like Jin here?
Yeah, I was thinking just Jin. You can still go for the Geralt next turn if you
Yeah.
want.
I like that. Wondering if he's gonna go like Defender now, and then do we then actually have to? Okay, this is fine.
Okay.
I think.
Probably okay to take the Geralt before that goes to
Yeah.
buff 6.
I tend to agree. Probably just okay. Hopefully we can bully him out, and then if we have Heatwave Crozyr on 3, I think we should be okay. If he goes like Defender, Colgrim, Kingsley here, that combo, that could be a little bit scary. Hopefully he's not going to go for that. He could also just drop a Mentor here. They would play for quite a lot of value, right? Like 10 points. That's not too bad.
Looks like it's just Sentinel time.
Yeah, and we don't want to hit this, right? Because in case we at some point say, okay, we have reach, we can just... Maybe we could even take a bomb here. Do we think that's okay now?
If he still goes for Defender Colgrim, would he do that? I mean...
It's too late, right?
It would be surprising if he went for it now.
I think we can survive that, right? I feel like I could...
Light risk? So you still have the Curse of Corruption.
Exactly, right? So I feel like we should still be okay to deal with it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Are we so afraid of the clock? I guess it is annoying.
Yeah, this holds just one more point in court, right? I think I'm gonna go for it. It might backfire, but you want to go for Banish, right? Because you actually want the Purify will actually work on the Defender.
Yeah, I think as long as we keep last say here, we're in a decent spot.
He just goes for full clock. The full clock line. Just play Sentinel, right?
Anything but the Snowflake.
Snowdrop. Snowdrop, yeah, I also call it Snowflake. Hopefully he will pass here. It's a little bit awkward if he plays another card. Could drop a Mentor here, I suppose.
But luckily we do have the answer, and he passes. All right. Yeah, so this is a line we didn't really discuss that much. If they do try to push you around too, of course you have a way of keeping your last say by just surviving the bleed this way.
Yeah.
With Justice, something like this. So you can sometimes consider passing round 1 if you foresee a situation like this.
So we obviously kick the Volunteer here. That's not too bad.
There is not really... there's one card that's worse than the brick you have currently, but I think you take the risk. I guess actually the Protector... you can enable him, but he doesn't...
Same, right? Yeah. I could see taking them all.
Yeah, you have no bomb yet. I think you can do it.
Okay, that's probably just a little bit better. We just start Saber, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's one nice thing actually about losing the first round. If you manage to go to round 3 like this, you have first say with Sabertooth, and that can be absolutely devastating for the opponent.
Okay, so how do we actually deal with this?
I think it should be enough if you Curse of Corruption this.
Then he goes...
After petting the tiger?
But then what? Then he goes Renew on it, right?
Huh.
And then we have to Heatwave that, and then... But we don't have much other, like...
Alternatively, you could Heatwave this, and then you have last say, right?
But then he got Kingslayer as well, right?
So, okay, what does he have in hand? He needs Colgrim, Kingslayer, and Renew.
Yeah, if he has all three, it's kind of awkward, actually. Maybe we just take the Curse?
Curse, if he renews it, then...
Yeah, it's not great, but like it's also kind of awkward to... I'll try the...
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I feel like we could still lose it. Like, if you have a Purify bomb, it's so much better, because then we can just, like, ignore it. We needed, like, Purify bomb and Heatwave here, I think. This could still end very badly. Yeah. He's going for this, obviously.
Well, now you gotta get rid of that somehow.
Yeah, so now we probably just need to Heatwave it, I think.
Yeah, it's the most points you can get.
I think I might be losing here, to be honest. Let's see.
8, 16.
Yeah, if we had making a bomb, we could move it as well, right? But we don't have that.
I think 7 points is just the most you get here.
Yeah. If we just exactly can kill it right, it will go to 9 points. We can get it down to 2 by going for Rebuke here. I think the Kingslayer will just be a little bit too much, unfortunately. Like, we're so close to killing it, right?
So close.
Yeah, that's kind of sad, because I don't think this finisher is going to be enough now.
7, 12.
This Kingslayer is going to be pretty huge.
It's
Yeah.
Oh,
we lose by 1 point.
no.
That's kind of sad.
Oh man.
Okay.
I mean, he played that relatively well though. Like he had exactly the cards
Yeah,
he
he had the
needed
cards
to-
he needed, right? We just needed one more of these, like a Purify or something like that would be fine. Yeah, Lippy.
It's a challenge. It's
Okay.
a challenge.
Okay, we got
Fine.
this.
We got this. Yeah, we're gonna just draw Northern Winds. One is already there.
Okay, we
Where's
got
the
red
next
coin as well. That's nice.
Uh-huh.
Probably kick the Sentinel.
Yeah, we need last say because otherwise it's gonna yeet our gourd. Yeah, we just mustn't find a pyro. Okay.
That's fine.
I mean, okay. So you technically have access to all the Northern Winds.
Yeah.
And to yeet.
What?
And it's something different.
True. True. Okay, so do we just go like Pyro first?
Yeah, unless you. Yeah,
Maybe
I guess.
Rebuke on that.
Yeah, I was considering Rebuke there.
Sure.
What do they play on top of that? Like,
I have no idea.
is it priests?
Could be priests. Oh wow.
Oh, he really wants that card. Fascinating. Before you ever play this Northern Wind, by the way, don't be a Pepega like me. Actually, think of your bomb heavers.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. So do we just leave it there? Say he plays a priest and we just first protect that.
Yeah, I think we rather want to go for the priest than with that, and yeah, go for pyro.
But yeah, it's still a bit awkward only to have one bomb on hand. Would have been nice to have a few.
It's quite rare that this happens with 6 bombs in the deck. You usually draw 2,
Yeah.
at least.
2 to 3 in the opening hand, maybe
Yeah.
even more. All right.
Oh, so it is there. Okay, at least something.
So this Lippy, it's just a very weird version of Lippy. So we definitely just play this one now. I mean, we do, right? We just say we just pass afterwards if we need to.
Well, do we really have to hurry up so much with doing? I guess.
I'm just worried that he's forcing us out. Like, we're already down by quite a lot. Like,
Yeah. I think it's always a rough goal. So, yeah, okay. Basically, if you play Northern Wind now, you surrender the round, and then you accept the fact that your god's gonna get yeet waved every single time.
yeah. I think it's okay.
So yeah, so if you do this, I think you can. You give up the round, yeah. You do this, and then you will not play Justice here, but try to keep that as your finisher for round 3.
I agree. That makes sense.
It's gonna be a bit of a brick fiesta potentially, but
And if we have room, right? Like, if it allows us, we could just go for another Northern Wind anyway, maybe. If we still have room with Justice and Volunteers.
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay. So we could go for another one here. Would we take like Knickers maybe?
So right now, he would res the shield mains for 11 points, right?
Yeah.
Is that gonna be his best Onaramancy in round 3?
I think we're not entirely sure, right? The Knickers is just guaranteed. That's kind of why I feel like that might be a little bit more appealing, maybe.
Maybe. Technically, if he does go for shield maidens, it would be 1 more point to get rid of them.
Yeah.
but
Definitely.
you are correct that it's always gonna hurt him if we get rid of Nikas. Yeah. So.
Whereas, like, if this goes down to 8, he'll definitely take something else.
Mm-hmm.
So, take the right one.
Yeah. So in this case, if that happens, this basically becomes all about trying to disrupt the carryover potential for Lippy as much
Yeah.
as you can.
And yeah, I mean, like, if we somehow have... Okay, do we... We don't want to play into that, right? Just let him have it. Like...
Yeah, well, I think with this hand, we just
Pass, right?
can't realistically contest. If
I agree.
maybe if you slam leader, but it really depends on what else is in this guy's hand.
Yeah.
I think in general though, that Lippy deck is gonna have more targets for us to remove and therefore be a bit weaker than the normal one
Yeah.
in this matchup.
I agree. Need a bomb here. Okay, nice.
Mm-hmm.
The frontier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's functional.
Yeah,
But could get rid of a pyro if we are feeling lucky.
that would be quite risky with 3 bricks and 10 cards. I don't know.
You're saying keep.
It's your call. I think I keep. Wow.
Okay, that's...
Okay, I mean, could have been worse.
Not much worse, at least. You just seed wave that, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be the best.
I mean, obviously he's playing
he's
priest, but like,
yeah.
don't we just have like, don't we just like rebuke that or something?
Yeah, I think the priest you'll find different ways of beating them. Nice to get rid of Blue Boy.
Yeah, because now he has some pings, and we also got rid of Nikas, so it's actually a little bit awkward for him to use these. Maybe he's running. No, he's not running the big guy, right? It wouldn't make much sense.
Not really.
So.
Sure.
Okay. So now we just start playing these guys, maybe?
Yep. If he
passes, do we need to go for this first to have reach? This is like...
we were considering
40.
to keep Justice for
yeah.
round 3, so I think we still pray that that can happen, otherwise we might not really have strong plays there.
And I guess like these, we can just use, we can play both bomb hero and leader shot if he passes, so for now it's still okay.
Exactly.
Making a bomb is starting. Maybe we should go make a bomb first.
Do we have enough reach? That is only 2 points effectively because Madoc doesn't come out.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, true. Let's just go for one of these then.
You could consider hitting Burner maybe if you remove her and he doesn't play backpaw for some reason and Magna Bomb is reactivated.
Yeah. And also just means that if we go for Pyro from Justice, then we don't have a one to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a nice Forest Protector, right?
Yeah. It's always Forest Protector. Even gets you ahead.
Yeah. It's really nice.
You could even enable making a bump now with leader if you really wanted. You're so afraid that the leading doesn't go through.
Could also see going Justice soon now because now we're actually threatening to take a card. And I guess we never go making a bump before we play the bump hero anyway, right?
Oh yeah, good point.
I feel like we're maybe not in the worst position right now.
Yeah, I think his push here... What is this?
Yeah. Do we ever go bomb hero and finish this one off?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it's a bit suspicious that we're doing this, but we definitely don't want to make our pyro worse.
Yeah. Seems okay. Like, Lippy's still gonna play for a lot of points, of course. Maybe giving him this bag is not great. Giving us a potential top deck if he goes Lippy now. Did he go Naira round 1?
I don't think so.
He did, right? Yeah, No, that was us.
No, that's us.
Yeah, true. Okay.
His leader charges are actually really awkward because Lugos is gone.
Yeah, that's also what I'm hoping. But again, this is a weird list, right? If he has another veteran, maybe they could just use it on them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, true. But that also doesn't make it that amazing. It's like, I guess, yeah, it makes it 3 points. And Kutuk.
That's probably a fine making a bomb. It doesn't get us ahead, but it does deny this.
Yeah, definitely. And if he passes now, we probably an Iroh. Is that original an Iroh?
No, it's the second one.
No.
We could also,
Okay.
yeah, let's. Okay,
Or we play Gord because we don't have last say.
but he did play a heat wave, and he playing priest, so he might not be playing curse.
And then an Iroh is gonna go on Yeet instead of Queen's Guard. I keep calling
Yeah.
Queen's Guard Maiden.
Do we ever
So-
just go like volunteer here, then just go justice into pyro next, and then
I'm not sure how greedy you should try to. Yeah. Also, the bricks are gonna be
yeah, I mean it's
really
like
crazy. If you keep this volunteer, it's even worse, kind of.
I think I'll
Yeah.
try to drop it. I'm not
Yeah.
super happy about this, but
Yeah.
just have to try and see. If we draw well, I think
Yeah.
we're okay. But like we need to draw 2 out of these 3 cards and we Iroh for the last one. We're probably okay. If he's running double troll punish, the gold play was probably better. But I just don't see curse, right? So it has to be. Oh no.
Oh my god. So we just have the 4-point brick in hand. There's nothing we can do.
Okay, it's okay this hand. It's playable.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got basically 1 brick and the rest is okay.
You always start with this.
Yep. I think this is not even the worst position. You still have some proactive points you slam
Yeah.
down yourself. The cock might get you a Bear Witcher, maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
Lippy is gonna be 12 points.
So he lost a Bear Witcher there, which means he got 1 Bear Witcher left. That's not
That's
too
nice.
bad. Do we like try to finish off something back row here to like give him?
Should we kill the Morgwa because it's right next to Hankaduk?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. What if we? Okay, so what if we ping this? No, we can kill, can we? What if we go like? Do we just go pro here then?
On the
This, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's 6 points and
Not gonna get
it's
a much-
technically 8 because of the Hankaduk value deny. And it's awkward for the opponent that he might want to play
Do
something.
we also want to try to?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, really put some pressure on him there.
Trying to go for this. Not entirely sure if it's correct. The idea
No,
is that kind of gives
like it.
him, yeah. But I guess it also just means like his Kadush is kind of, maybe it's wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, he's in an awkward spot there anyway. The Sabertooth is really annoying for him. He can decide to yeet it now, but then of course he can't.
So that's how it
Okay,
occurs,
that's
probably.
Curve. Yeah, it should always.
I guess we can just go for like. No, I guess it's fine to do it now, right? Just to apply more pressure.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the goal is going to be fairly big. Hopefully, it didn't draw into Shield Maiden or Heatwave here. Because it's just abandoning on this one now, so now we can go Justice.
Mm-hmm.
And flip.
Yeah, he's gonna use his leader next to the Hankaduk.
Yeah, would make sense, right? Basically just making a 6-point leader.
Mm-hmm. 25, 29. So he needs like 21 points in 2 cards if the last card is a Heat Wave. Actually,
If you got Shield Maidens on Heatwave, I think we might be in trouble, but if you only got one of them, then maybe we're okay.
yeah. Oh, that's 6 points, I guess.
Yeah. Just play this, no reason to give him the gold just
Yeah.
yet.
I mean, even though it's a brick, it's technically, if you look at the other options, most of these cards would have just been 4
Yeah,
points
it's
as
actually
well.
the same, right? I
Yeah.
guess the making a bomb could be nice, kind of,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
potentially, but
It's oh, interesting. His
so
Yeet should still be in his
he
deck,
might have
right?
drawn it with Burner. That's the only thing here.
Oh yeah.
So and we lose if he has that, right, Toby?
Mm,
Yeah, we. Let's see.
Get 6 extra points.
It's a tie. No, we win, right?
Oh, because it spawned there. I think we got him.
I think we actually got him too.
The Sabertooth coming in clutch there at the end.
Yeah, winning the 50-50. And nice.
Nice.
Awesome. All
So
right.
yeah, a bit of a strange version of Lippy, but if you
Yeah.
win, it's always clutch like this. It's very close.
For sure. All right. Thanks a lot for stopping by, Crozier.
It was a pleasure.
I'll make sure to post your Twitch link in the description. So if you want to see more of this deck in action, then feel free to go in and check Crozier's Twitch. He has played a bunch. So yeah, see you guys.
See ya.